I'm Linda Downsborough. I've met many of you over a number of years. I'm from a private higher education institution in Johannesburg, which is IIE MSA, and it was the former Monash University. And many of us have had interactions around a number of these key areas, and these are the kind of recurring themes that I keep finding myself coming back towards and being really, really interested in. And two of the things I really want to talk about today are around social interactions and relationships, and around informal organizations and networks. And I'm going to be doing a bit of research, which I'll introduce to you. But one of the things I'm very interested about in social networks is that they provide a visual map, which becomes a starting point for a conversation. So the picture I've put up here is kind of a classic organogram on the left-hand side and a social network map on the right-hand side. And when you look at the organogram, you get an interesting picture. You kind of see a top-down structure. You could imagine someone on top making decisions that's devolving down to lower levels. When you look at a social network map, now I must put a disclaimer here that I don't know what actual conditions they used in producing this social network map, but I'm just using it as an example that if you looked at the organogram, you would think coal may be a fairly insignificant, that's a bit harsh maybe, not fully involved in decision making. He's got a certain role to play, but when you actually look at the social network map, you see that coal, this could be maybe about communication, it could be around who drinks the most coffee. As I say, I don't know the actual criteria they used, but coal becomes a very important role player in this particular social network. And then to go a bit further, I'm interested in these maps. These three pictures depict over a series of 9 years. This was to do with a water management agency in the US that went through a very significant transition, and you can see how the very same set of organizations started to reorganize themselves in different ways, such that we get a different map and structure. And one may think that the people sort of in the second image, B, hanging out on the left-hand side, may be quite disconnected, but they actually formed a whole new NGO network that became very important in the whole network and scenarios. So that's what I'm very interested about in social network analysis. But I don't actually have any data to present to you today. I wanted to just use these few minutes to be a conversation starter. And I like the idea of a conversation starter. I'm not from the garden route. I'm hoping to work in the garden route. And so I want to start a conversation with people who are here working in the garden route, who have more knowledge and insight than myself. So this particular meeting and this particular network becomes a really important starting point for me as a researcher. And one of the things I really want to talk about and understand, and I've become quite interested in, is the impacts of COVID-19, obviously, on informal networks and organizations. And I have my own experiences coming from a higher education institution. COVID obviously was quite a significant shock. We have spent years and years and years doing face-to-face lectures and designing certain learning experiences for students, and all of a sudden, very quickly, we had to reorganize ourselves. So whilst it was a shock, I very much see that there was an opportunity, and we got quite excited about some of the opportunities that we had. We got to think creatively and innovatively about the learning experiences we designed for students. And we got to be creative in the types of assessments that we did with students. But one of the things I've noticed, and I say it with caution that we may be returning to a slightly more normal system now, is that sometimes our systems aren't designed to accommodate the opportunities that we found. So for example, we found that students responded really well to online learning and they really enjoyed it. But as an institution, we are not accredited to offer distance and online learning. So we have to revert back to our old ways of doing things. So I think we can all probably agree that COVID-19 was a shock to many of the systems that we know and work in. We've heard it from 2 presenters already just this morning. We heard it from several presenters over the last couple of days. But one of the things I'm really interested in is, did all individuals, organizations, and networks kind of experience the same effects of COVID? Did they all, and I use this word, kind of suffer quite lightly? And what were some of the reasons for that? Why might some organizations or networks have experienced more significant impacts than others? And why were some able to, let's say, adapt and recover a little more quickly than others? Thank you very much.